Hi, welcome back to Dandelion Spirit, episode 2 of the podcast, where we explore ideas and information and resources and thoughts about resilience through trauma. So, just a PSA for today, we may speak about and discuss ideas and things that could be triggering to some people and could be pretty revealing. Just be aware, you may want to filter this podcast. So, in terms of trauma and our goal with this podcast, let's define trauma first. So, looking up anywhere in a dictionary, Google, it's going to say that it's an emotional response to a deeply distressing or life threatening event that totally overwhelms an individual's capacity to cope, resulting in lasting adverse effects on their well being. So, in other words, emotionally, you totally become disabled to a point, and your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, which makes you physically not even really be able to react in some ways. Sometimes you freeze, sometimes you cry uncontrollably, sometimes you feel like you're going into shock. I've heard people explain those kind of things after trauma. So it's definitely an emotional response initially, and the brain's trying to figure out how to handle it. When we heal and go to therapy and get in touch with the event, yes, then you can heal. There's a permanent neural connection that's not made yet between the memory and the event and the trauma. So there's different kinds as well, just like an injury or just like a disease. Acute trauma is usually described as a single one-time event, happened to you once. Obviously, different things can happen to you throughout your life, but an acute trauma specifically is more of a singular event. A chronic trauma could be explained as a repeated and prolonged exposure to stressful events. Think of a natural disaster, a very serious hurricane or something that's not going to last for 1 hour, like a car wreck. It might last 3 or 4 days and continue to expose you to traumatic things. The complex kind is more of a exposure to varied and multiple traumatic events, which they're often interpersonal, and a lot of times, of course, they're occurring in childhood. So this can be a lot more repetition type of trauma. So it can be similar or the same type of trauma over and over and over. And we equate it to childhood experiences a lot because it's our parenting sphere, right? And as the brand new child learning and growing, experiencing the pattern and the development the parent's already gone through and how they're reacting and acting as a parent. So complex is definitely layered. It can directly develop into complex PTSD, which is what I have.
Yay, me too.
And Jules, it's kind of a trauma that can't be healed. You can't go to therapy, within a week of the event if you're 7, and then it happens again the next week. Oh, I need a therapist again. So when you have a traumatic event or you have a PTSD stressor, the sooner you get help, the more likely, I think it's 81 or 82% more likely you are to heal and actually get past it and be able to recuperate, so to speak, from that stressful event. If you never get help and some of the adverse side effects hang out, it could become totally unhealable and you just deal with symptoms the rest of your life. So, the reason for the episode, we are both super curious about the current climate in America, climate of fear, the climate of rage and uncertainty, climate of guilt, shame, or even emotional numbness. There's so much going on right now the Epstein files, which is worldwide. I can barely wrap my head around just the American side of it. We've got Trump and his administration barely in power 14, 16 months now, destroying everything. The stripping of rights, and the whole uncertainty toward the future. What are we leaving our kids? I mean, how quickly can we destroy everything, including the planet, as a parent and not worry about it, right? So we kind of wanted to touch on current events, so to speak, because it's really got a lot of people stressed out. Even strangers who you meet at the grocery store will bring it up. So the question is, with so much going on, especially with the e-files, what do you do? You know, who do you talk to? Where do you go? How do you navigate some of the stressful, emotionally taxing, voices that are constantly triggering some of this fear and anger and disgust and frustration? Because I have it constantly right now. I can't read the e-files anymore. My sister can read them. I can't stomach it. The only thing I can think of is all the young girls and boys, and it's too much because I know it's been going on. And there's this huge structure that's been designed and built and refined and refurbished and decorated to make it look like it's okay, it's a cool thing, and it's not. It's like House of Horrors. It's like The Witch and Hansel and Gretel. It's like, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. And that's a whole nother level of frustration. Beyond what's getting me so triggered in the information is understanding that this whole structure and organization that's been built makes me feel like I was lied to and manipulated for 50 years of my life. The 1940s narrative of husband, wife stays home, good little wifey, pregnant, homemaker, that whole narrative I felt was shoved down my throat the last 50 years. And of course, society grew off it and expected it to be the norm and the American ideal. So I feel like my whole life up to this point, I've been lied to and manipulated. And now this happens. And this organization and structure is getting broken down and destroyed.
Not yet, but it's allowed because of the patriarchal system that was established before it. So, I mean, the patriarchal system allows for that protection of the men. It allows for it. They remain in power. I mean, people that are in there are people that have been caught in bald-faced lies. They're just, oh, I guess I'll resign. Yeah, I think they should be in jail. I, if everybody else at the party knows what's up with Joe, then how come you hung out with him for 13 years and didn't know what was up with Joe? I just find it hard to believe that they had no idea that this was going on. When you see pictures of multiple, I don't know, massage tables or this or that or odd things, no one, I don't know. But like I
I
said, back to
agree.
my point, yeah, it's kind of the patriarchal system that, and yes, as women, because it's a gender disparity, and when it's accepted, then it kind of becomes law in a way. It's not written down, but that's the way it is. It's tradition. It's the way it's always been, kind of thing.
It's almost like social law, like this is our culture,
Yes.
right?
The
And
same with the stay a virgin until you're married because that's your only worth. Your worth, your worth is your virginity, in a sense. So if you're essayed or this or that or choose to have sex before, you've gone against the whole. So it's kind of an interesting thing. My thing was, who is the virginity for then? Is it for me or for the guy I'm marrying? It's curious, I know it's an odd way to look at it, but I look at it that way. Like, why were
right, but
we denied this or that. It's because other cultures do not look at it that way. Other cultures have more sexual exploration or don't have the same taboos. But it's interesting. The Judeo-Christian, they weave that into everything, but yet don't really follow that book themselves. I don't know. It's perplexing to me.
It's complex, and I think a lot of it is, you know, embedded in that whole Christian church. I mean, if you think about it, who apparently wrote the Bible? Men. When did they write it? Decades after Jesus died, apparently. They were
Yeah,
very
Paul, the
specific.
guy that never met him.
Right.
The Middle
Yeah.
East. It was the Middle East, and we've got Paul and John, and I'm like, really? Okay.
Right. Just very embedded. The
Yes.
man, the man, the man. The man is in charge. The man is the head of the household. The man earns the money. The man decides the rules. The man, the man, the man.
Boys will
But
be boys.
yeah, but the virginity thing and the pregnancy thing and all that, I find really hypocritical because number
It's
one, you tell me
controlling.
well, yeah, I have to have a man or I have to be with a man, but God forbid I get divorced. I can't hurry up and find another man because maybe then I'm a slut. So if I go to work, then I'm a bad mom because my kids are in daycare. But if I stay home with my kids and get public assistance, then I'm a lazy whore. Like the double standards and the hypocrisy, I think that's what I'm over. I'm
Well,
tired of that crap. The misogyny
right.
and the women must be beautiful and thin and virgins and all this other crap.
Well, mine started at 17, so I chose to keep a teenage pregnancy. And I had a lot of people who were telling me, abortion kills the baby and it was bad and it was wrong and okay. And other people. But then when I made that choice to keep the child, I was like forever marked a slut because I had sex out of wedlock. I'm like, but I chose the baby. Like, you guys were
Right.
really, it does. Oh, there's two sides to that coin. They're the same. Oh, got you. So I'm a slut either way. It doesn't matter if I was promiscuous in high school. It doesn't matter if I slept with one person. It doesn't matter if I slept with someone one time. It doesn't matter anything. It's this one or the other. Well, if you had an abortion, you're obviously a slut. Well, I kept the baby. Oh, you weren't married? Oh, you're obviously a slut. I was like, what?
Right.
I mean, it was like, oh, thanks for the mentoring and help. Like, it was just like, a, it, but yet the man or the young man, there was not a big deal there at all.
Right.
So it's like, what the heck? I mean, just talk about a double standard. But I went through that in my own experience, and it was like, so either way, so I was like, whatever, dude. Like, say what you want. But it's just crazy to me that the one decision means one thing, but the other decision means the same thing too. What? Just
Yeah,
doesn't
and
make sense.
how long has it been that way? Forever, right? I always
And then
equate
you're
it
forever
to
stamped that way. So it doesn't matter what you do. It's like a
right.
reputation. And it's just like, okay, did I make mistakes? Yes, I was young. I was basically a kid, this and that. But like to be condemned for it or be continually punished for it years later, it's just crazy to me. Just crazy to me. But
Yeah, and at
that
the
to
end of
me
the
is
day it
part of
doesn't
that. That's part of that patriarchal society again. That's part of the, where the woman, so, well, then she's the bad one. And I'm like, what? So
well, yeah, that's how I've always seen it is no matter what the situation is, ultimately the man gets to walk away.
yeah,
Period. Like, well, it's obvious you had sex. You're pregnant and I can see your belly. Yeah, but a man had to do it to me. Do
it
you know what I'm
doesn't
saying?
seem, and there's so many cases where we see forced or rape or molestation of young, and they get these ridiculous 2 years, and he did time served. Are you kidding me? And everybody wants, chemical castration. I don't think so. I think they should just be in general population.
I think so too. I think they should be in Gen Pop. I think they should be given definitely harder sentences because one thing we've learned, number one, and I can only say this because I've worked in law enforcement before and crimes division, you can't rehabilitate them, number one. And number two, they are repeat offenders, period.
Yeah.
It's not a one and done thing. Usually what happens is one of these guys gets arrested. Yes, usually creepy white guy. And you find out it's not just one child. It's like the entire group at the church for the last 6 years, or, school and sports activity, or whatever the story, and they never get in trouble. It's basically, well, you know, 10 counts of endangerment and inappropriateness with the child, and this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 5.5 years. What? Really? And
Yeah.
he gets solitary and special treatment. I don't
People get
understand
mad
that.
at me because I think it's a death penalty thing. People don't believe in the death penalty and they don't like it. But I said, there are some cases when you need to end someone. It's like you said, the repeat stuff and the pedophilia. Is it just widespread among a lot of men because they've been culturally, societally, I don't know, fraternally, like,
I think part of the masculinity part and the strong man thing is pushed so often that if you're not constantly feeling that, you feel like you have to go out and seek it somehow. I think that could be
but I
part of
mean,
it with
the
some youth.
pedophilia part of it, I mean, porn, they're bald,
Right.
this and that. And I'm always like, why are they bald? Like, why do you have to shave all you, what guys don't like? I'm a grown ass woman. There's hair down there, just like there's hair
Exactly.
around his. But there's a lot of things that just the models they use that, well, she's 14, but she looks mature. No, she looks 14 or 12. Like
Yeah,
she
exactly.
had, is she modeling kids' clothes? No, adult gross. Like Calvin Klein had that whole thing with the super young model. Were they beautiful? Were they beautiful? Yes, they were, but you had them in a very sexualized campaign. So what are you
Yeah.
doing, buddy? I mean, I I don't get it. The guys are all about it, and I'm like, but that's not okay. And people get upset when I say we need more of a matriarchal system. That puts women in power. I said it protects and centers children, though,
It's right.
not necessarily
Children are
women
the
in power. I go, it protects children, which are not being protected.
right. Children
So,
first. Matriarchal societies in general are strong because they protect the next generation in the right way.
right.
And if you don't have that type of structure in that community, you're not going to survive with healthy, strong, capable, intelligent, whatever, children. You have it's kind of like the hunter versus the gatherer. Okay, you're a really good hunter, but we're not going to help you get better, and we'll see how the community does. We want you to do something else instead. Well, maybe we should celebrate the fact that he's a really good hunter, and if we want to survive, maybe we should mentor him and support him. Or maybe he's better at the basket weaving and we lose less grain when he filters it. I don't know. You have to protect the children and their abilities and the opportunity for them to be really strong and powerful in and of themselves. It's
Yeah,
like we
without gender
squash.
disparity. That's the key
Exactly.
thing there is that all these boys are raised up, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're better, you'll be in charge. And women are supposed to be quiet, subservient, you know. And a lot of women don't come forward because they're not heard. And people are like, oh, I don't believe it. I'm like, literally look at the Epstein files. There's 1,200 living people who are standing right there. And you guys are like, yeah, well, they weren't friends. It was one time on the boat. I didn't go to the island, bro. All these excuses. I'm like, they're right there. And
Yeah.
you're telling all these girls, he raped you, you go tell. And what? And so and it's been triggering for some of my coworkers who are quite younger than me, who are like, this is just, she's like, I said, well, sometimes you have to unplug yourself from the information, touch
Right.
grass or however they say nowadays. But I said, I advocate that a lot. Put your phone down, listen to some music but if someone was molested or had some issue, whatever happened, you know, you deal with it in your own way, um, various ways as we're going to discuss, but when you're sitting and watching the news and so and so was raped, and you have that moment of you know, or whatever
Yeah.
it is, and in the Epstein files, it's just these multiple. Plus, there's pictures and there's other things, and you may come across it without really knowing it's there because it just seems to be flooding everywhere across even if you're not really on social media a lot, it's everywhere. It's in news feeds and everything. So the only place it's really not is kind of the national media outlets. So,
Yeah.
a lot of girls hear about it and it and they feel anxious. It's kind of, you go back to that memory or you go back to that situation and, it's, how, they come to me and what do you do? And I'm like, well, it's like, how often would we be talking about this kind of thing? I mean, it happens and we talk about it in the news with tragedy, but it's like, the Epstein files is just everywhere now.
Right. And I think the victim shaming too is a huge part of it. We've been taught to shame the victim and not believe them. So I think people forget, especially with the Epstein files, well, none of these girls came forward and did it when it happened, and why didn't they this or that? Some of them were 10. Some of them were 16. Some of them, you're not going to, who do you go to? You don't even know who you are, let
A
alone
lot
what's
of them were
happening to
12
you.
and 13.
Right. How do you tell someone or go to
Plus, do you
someone?
really know what's going on? You might know it's
No.
wrong or you're not, I mean, do you really have a lot of sexual knowledge, experience, exposure at 12 that you
Hopefully no.
understand? I mean, I have kids at school that mimic memes that they think are funny that are very sexual. And so I have to explain to them that's not okay. I'm not your mom and dad. I'm not going to explain what's going on. Do not do that at school. They're mimicking, and they don't even have any clue. They have no clue what it's about or anything. They don't understand relationships besides that they love their mom and dad or, their brothers or sisters. And so they're groomed into it. And, I have a personal experience with someone that was groomed at a young age, and we've tried to pull her out of this situation, and she's just, no, that, this is how it's supposed to be. And she just
Right.
doesn't get it. And it's, because it started when she was very young. And I tell people, it's like religion. Unravel your religion for me. Oh, I was raised, okay. Well,
Well,
in this society, you're raised to be quiet and be submissive. What were you wearing? What did you do? Da da da. Plus, if you're groomed when you're young, maybe you're told this is something you're expected to do if you're a good girl. How would you know any different? You don't have any experience. When you're 16, okay, a little more. But they probably operated like the Romeo pimps.
yeah.
They, oh, here's some money. Let me buy you some clothes. And how about a date? Not really a date. We'll just go out to eat. And she actually kind of is like, this guy is amazing. And then the next thing you know,
Right.
oh, can you do this for me? And she's like, what? Oh, but I did this and this and this and this for you. And she's 14 or what do you know, so it's just interesting to me that you would lay anything on the victims. It just blows my mind that anyone would be like, well, I don't know. Seriously? You don't know? Like, the attorney general
Yeah.
refused to turn and look at them. It was disgusting. It was just absolutely kind of, to
Really
me, just
disgusting.
unfathomable. So,
I'm I'm trying to give a little bit of my energy right now to the victims. After all this time, they're still trying to stand strong and, you know, shine some
one of
light on
them
the
did
truth.
a tweet and named names.
Yeah.
because they're like, do we have to name names? I could go at 1,000 pages of it. Why don't you,
Hmm.
you know? And a lot of these things weren't followed up on. So you go back again to a lot of the congressmen and women are asking, so these people came, they did these statements, they made accusations that should be investigated, and what happened? Like, these are for Trump, these are for so and so, these are whatever. All his there's like 38 people in his, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, did the FBI drop the ball? Is it what's the deal? And everyone's like, well, if you start to unravel it, everything, then let's start unraveling, man.
Exactly.
Because it'll help separate the conspiracy theory. Were they using the code word pizza? Yay. Is there a pizza gate? Well, there's no such thing. There's no basement. Let's separate the conspiracy from what was said and done, and they're just like, we're not going to do that. And I'm like, are you kidding me with all these documents and all this stuff? Pictures of stuff? I'm confused. Like, if that's not a cover up, what is a cover up? So the average person is kind of like, bro, they can't get so and so arrested. I'm not going to
Right.
be talking about my uncle, whoever, or what happened to me last week because they're going to drag me through the mud and da da da. And it's,
Well, that's it. That's it, isn't it? It's like, well, maybe I did go to the cops 20 years ago when it happened to me and nothing happened, and I still get shamed for it. Or I'm not going to come forward now because I'm watching all this stuff and listening to all the e-file stuff and no one's getting in trouble. So it just breeds this horrible cycle, right?
well,
That
yeah,
the
they,
victims
they
go,
worked really hard to shut down the Me Too movement. And part of what was happening in the Me Too movement was this stuff was starting to come out. This stuff was
right.
starting because, when you have a certain type of trauma and you talk to other people and you're like, bro, okay, and no one, and you're like, I'm the only one this happened to, and then eventually you meet somebody. Now, it took me a very long time to meet somebody that had some of the same things I did based off of the way they were done, specifically food. And that's why I recognized what was going on with this person. But until that point, you're kind of, and the Me Too movement was like, yeah, that guy did that kind of shit to me too. And oh, yeah, I was in kind of a similar situation. And that person, so it began to go, and it's in the Epstein files where they're like, we got to shut it down because they're
Yeah.
starting to find people just like to find a predator show. I read a whole thing that they were catching too many government officials, and so the show was shut down. What? I said
I
that can't
should
be right. So I'm in there fact checking it, and yeah, just blew
shouldn't be
my
laughing.
mind. So I mean, that's the thing. But people have to kind of figure out. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out. I'm just overwhelmed by it. What can I do? How do I do? Do I stay informed? Do I disengage? Do I walk away? Do I ignore it? You know, I read all this and I was fine. I read that and I can't sleep. So it's just a lot of stuff, and it's not in any type of um it's not color coded where that's safe to read and this has got something icky in it or anything like that. So you just stumble across different things. And I think the average person, even without a lot of trauma, I think even what I like to call the Brady Bunch house, which, in theory, like Happy Happy or loving mom and dad or whatever, even they're like, this is a lot. And it is.
Yeah, even some of the lawmakers in Washington who are allowed to sign in to go to the federal building and read X amount of hours worth of files, they allowed them, they can't print out or take anything. Remember, I think Bondi said they can go and read. They
Search.
come out of, yeah, they come out of the building and they're like, what the fuck did I just read? And these are people who, some of them, pretty well educated, grew up well, perhaps. Um, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. They're kind of like, what the fuck did I just read?
I'm the
And
same. I'm the same. And I'm a horror movie kid. I love horror books. I like all that kind of good stuff. And I deal with young children that have some pretty severe trauma and dark things that happen to them. And it's been just mind blowing for me. It makes a lot of things I dealt with that I thought were like, wow, that's, the craziest thing I've ever dealt with. This was intense and looked like, I don't know, a birthday party with cake and ice cream. It's just bizarre to me. It's like, wow, okay. No shame in their game. Absolutely zero shame in the game. I mean, there's pictures, there's video, and these events weren't quick little things. I mean, the videos are 27 minutes long, 23 minutes long. They took their time. It was disgusting. Just disgusting, some of it.
yeah, and if you didn't go through any kind of trauma as a kid, which I would love to say a lot of people had a Brady Bunch house, I would hope, you read it and you are traumatized and can't talk to the media who are waiting outside the federal building for you or something. Like just reading it can be traumatizing. It's very hard if you have no perspective of what sexual assault or rape kind of trauma looks like or can be how it can be, reflected in someone. And I fight that right now at the VA because I present normal. I don't
Mm.
present broken, severely depressed, unhinged, traumatized. I present normal.
But you are. It's just you've had to
I
survive. That's what
Right.
they don't
So
understand. They don't understand that some of us are able to get that job and go to work every day and and kind of hamster wheel it out because we are trying to just survive. And you go into that mode and everything is, a lot of it gets pushed aside unfortunately. But it's all there. It's all there.
right, and that's one of those things I learned in my wording with some of the therapists and things I had to go through. Just because I present normal doesn't mean I'm fighting off triggers and the feeling of being traumatized all day long every day. Presenting normal has been a way of survival for me. It's been a way for me to smile enough in the interview to get the job or be friendly enough to kind of keep good relationships with people at work. Not so much friends. I don't have any friends. Um, there's no childhood home. There's no, I don't have that. So you kind of, it becomes a tool of survival. It becomes a tool of, okay, I fucking want to end it all and I'm really miserable and I'm angry and I'm hurt and I'm confused but how do I keep going? How do I keep going? How do I fight through all that bullshit to get to a road that might be doable? Like you said, which hamster wheel is going to fit me? I got to find one.
Right.
So even if it's therapy, that doesn't mean you're going to find the right therapist. Yes, therapy's great. God bless COVID, I guess, for making it available and online. But remember, take it with a grain of salt. I'm in medical school. Half of my classmates are half my age or younger. What do they know? Half of them don't know any type of real life experience. And the other half have been so sheltered and taken care of, they've never experienced any kind of trauma in any way, shape,
Right.
or
So when
form.
something even small happens, they have like a knee jerk reaction to it. I understand
Exactly.
that. It's out of their comprehension. Like they're like,
Yes.
what? That doesn't,
It's the
I,
it's the perspective idea, right? So the last time I had a family doctor, he was a resident. It was a teaching hospital. This is in Kalamazoo, Michigan. He really struggled the first couple visits with me because I was trying to get into a weight loss program. There was something going on with my body, hormones, something was off. Ended up finding out I had cancer. Anyway, by the third visit, he literally came out and told me, I can't be your physician. And I was like, why not? Or what do you mean? He goes, well, you've told me you're on SNAP benefits. And I'm like, yes, I am. He goes, I can't. I said, well, why not? Like, dude, I don't understand. I know you want me to follow a certain diet and we're trying to gauge some behaviors and things, but if there's one apple left in the fridge, my daughter gets it. I don't get it. Like it's not mine. The food goes to her. He goes, yeah, I can't deal with that. Was he privileged? Probably. I only say that. I don't mean to be judgmental, but yeah, he probably was. Has he ever been hungry? I seriously doubt it. Ever,
Right.
ever, ever. Did he understand what it was like to get SNAP benefits and still try to make the healthiest choice you could? Super hard. I'm a dietitian, and this is my prepping Sunday, and they do a TikTok on it, and they take out like $300 worth of food.
Right.
I can't afford $300 worth of food to prep for the week. Never have I been able to do that. It's a beautiful TikTok. But my God, I
Three
can't do
hundred
that.
dollars worth of food is about max out of my food budget. I mean, especially now since food is so much more expensive. It's people are like, what?
300
And I'm
is
like,
about,
yeah, and I don't go
yeah,
out to eat. I don't do any fast food. I don't go, I mean, if I'm invited and they're paying, but I can't afford it. I try to kind of tighten my belt and I try to just do what I need to do. But to eat healthy, to buy the fruit and the veg, and it's expensive now. Before it just wasn't as so, but it is. It really is.
right. So, how do you navigate something like that? Kind of mirrors a little bit navigating the trauma idea. Like, okay, how do I stop my life to try to get a lawyer, to try to go to court against this guy, to try to figure out how to keep my job, but still go to court, but still, it's the same kind of idea. I don't have tons of money and power to immediately go to the DA and try to charge this guy for assaulting me or whatever.
And you
Or
don't
I
even know if
have,
it'll go anywhere.
exactly.
The person I was talking about, they had a restraining order that he broke her arm and she left for a while. She got talked back into going back and she gave birth to their child um, this month. And so, DA, I've talked to the DA, mom's talked to the DA, you know, and it's like, what do you do there? Like, and that happens a lot. I deal with CPS a lot. And a lot of times it's just, I don't know if it's not serious for them but yet on other cases they're very aggressive. I think it depends on who deems the report to be, I don't know, I don't want to say viable, but there's things I've reported that I felt are serious that were dismissed, like what? And then I've sat in meetings where, this child's lips are very chapped and we're concerned about her oral hygiene. So, I mean, it's random for me, my experience. I mean, there's so few people to deal with the cases, but the cases they deal with are interesting at times.
I don't think we have a good finger on the pulse of how bad some of the child abuse and child neglect and sexual assault and all that is. We don't have a clue. We don't put children first in America at all.
No.
It's not at the top of our list. Other countries, it's pretty
Well, it's
obvious.
obvious. It's obvious with the lack of childcare and the lack of educate. They strip education every chance they get. You know, every chance they get. They strip something out of it or this or that. So right there's your starting point is, providing childcare for people and providing a good education regardless of where they're at. I don't believe in private schools, so, but people think I'm
True.
crazy. But I think everyone should go to the same school.
Well,
And
you
if you
have
want to
like
invest in
mandated,
that school, invest.
right? You have mandated reporter in most states, right? I work at the YMCA also. I'm a mandated reporter. I deal with children and work with children all year long. But even then, you can't get enough of the right support when you're trying to do good by a child. So, as far as where to go and what to do, when you're a child, I would hope that somehow, some way, there's always an appropriate adult, a teacher or coach or somebody you can go to. Maybe your parents, we didn't have parents. But as you get older, it's even tougher. I'm supposed to talk to my boss, or none of my therapists understand. I feel like they don't get it. I'm constantly repeating myself.
Right.
How
And
how do you figure out how to start? how do you figure out what can work to help you not feel like you're unraveling? Some people, it is religion. I get that. Some people have that best friend, ride or die for most of their life. Good. Some people take up journaling, which can be very, very helpful. I can't really journal much anymore. It's too repetitive every day. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it's kind of funny to me.
The same
There
shit
are
every day.
resources. Well, yeah,
How does
but
it say? I ask the creator to help me have a wonderful day and make good choices. And at the end of the night, I tell him I'm sorry. I'll try again tomorrow. You know, it's that kind of, you do the best you can. When you can't get into a space, a person, a confidant, you know, then you can't fix what's going on or understand. You know, when you have that enlightenment with whatever the trauma is, it's sometimes like a light bulb and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. But I've been doing that for 12 years. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've been doing that for, you know, and that's part of it too, is if you're in that work mode and or survival mode, you know, you're not, and you can't figure out what to do. It's like having diabetes and not going to the doctor, in a sense. You might read some
right,
stuff online and try not to eat candy. Okay, I feel a little better. I might try to, you know, but if you don't really you're still, and then my belief, and maybe I'm wrong, is some of that just kind of settles in to a point where when you have the complex form, it's just you're unraveling and you're working on stuff, but there's just so much that you're going to deal with. A percentage of it, I feel like I'm just going to have it until I'm done here, you know, because you
yeah. I feel
can't
like
find access or a person, or, you know, I tell the girls at work, you go to and I don't even really drink, but a margarita once in a while, or heck, I'll drink iced tea. I don't care. But a sitting bitch helps a lot of people. You know, I said
yes,
it might be as simple as that, but you've got to find the right people or the right connection or network or, you know, to do so.
right. Because if you don't, like you said, it kind of just spirals and keeps going. Like somebody will ask me something at work, and I start to tell them, and then I realize they're not going to get it. From their perspective, they're going to be like, "What?" And I can't really keep going. And then, of course, human nature, even though they're 20 years old, 24 years, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this? And I'm like, I'm 58 years old. Of course, I've tried that. You know, it's really hard to explain the frustration you fight with within yourself every day. So if I
Mm.
didn't meditate
I
at all,
usually use, if I'm talking to someone in person, I take my finger and I poke them repeatedly, constantly during our whole conversation. And they're like,
yeah,
can you
I've
stop?
done
And
that.
I'm like, I can't really, because this is how my food noise is every day, all day. When I talk to you, when I'm doing my documentation, when I'm reading a book, my brain is telling me, you know, or I said, there's other situations where I've had to kind of kill that child, that critical child voice in me. It's because it comes from your parents. It's not you, it's your parents talking. I said, but, you know, everybody deals with it in a different way, I guess. But I mean, it's interesting to me because a lot of times people are like, "Well, you can't just get over it," and I'm like, "Can you just get over having an absent mother who's there physically but wasn't there emotionally for you, who didn't touch you and cuddle you and just have a basic? I mean, I would have taken a basic, borderline nurturing mom." And I don't mean she cooked our food and we ate it, but there was cruelty in that too. But I mean,
Right.
it was all about how we looked, and then once we were back in the house, there's a whole different story. And you know, not having that mom to have, I said, you know, that's a pretty big thing. I said, it's something that you kind of unravel and deal with. And well, other people, I said, well, other people may have had different experiences, different parents, different, may have had a mentor, different things. I go, everyone's different, but you've got to
It's not
figure
even
out.
just that. On top of all that, We moved every year. So we didn't have friends or any other kind of stability. So if you're not getting emotional support and fun and love and food from your parents, where the else fuck you gonna get it? We moved every year. So think about that. There's no childhood home. There's really no childhood friends for the most part.
Yeah, there's
We
no
don't even,
connection. There's no network of, oh, I know
there's
Sammy's
no
brother.
plot.
He played on baseball with my brother. And yeah, none of that connection, community connection.
Right. And when you have a little bit more of a community connection, you do find the best friend's mom who will listen to you appropriately. Or you do find the kid's house where everybody always gets along. So you end up there at the end. We didn't. I didn't from a very,
Well,
very,
by the
very
time
young
we
age.
kind of got to know our neighborhood a little bit, I mean, you're 6, 9 months there. And then we're gone in 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
We moved so much that by the time you met somebody or, part of me is like, bro, we're gonna move, so like whatever. I mean, I'll find
exactly.
friends, but like, we were never that. Our parents are boomers, so we were never included in the adult conversation. You come home from school and they're like, pack your shit, or we're going
Yeah.
here, or it was like, what, we had no. There wasn't any kind of like, it might be hard to move, but they moved us middle of the school year, beginning of the school year, end of the school year, did not care. Did
No
not care.
forewarning, no explanation, no input. What do you guys think about moving to Ohio? I don't know. No, it's like
I would have
I've
said no
always,
if they would have asked me.
I always felt ambushed. I, and the irony of it all is mom and dad both, when we were older. What a wonderful learning experience. Fuck you. No, it wasn't.
No,
Not for a
there's
kid.
a whole study that I took on trauma. And when I finished my paper and turned it in, she said, you shouldn't even be walking around. She goes, you should have never graduated from high school. You should have never gotten an AA degree. You should have never gotten a bachelor's degree. You've owned a house. She's like, you are not, she goes, 2 high schools, and it cuts your chance of graduation in half. I was like, where I was in for.
Right.
So it's like, I have 4 letter jackets, and that's the way it is. So, I mean, I go, you just did you're a kid. You did what you did. You just kind of tried to adapt. It's later that you have the issues, and you're like, well, what's the deal? And you're like, you realize, well, I never really learned that. We didn't have those friends. We didn't, the irony of all of that to me at the end is they sold their house and went home where they grew up. And I was like, nice, nice little,
Right.
nice little salt in the
Yeah.
wound.
Well, the hardest part about getting older for me was people would say things to me like, you're having an anxiety attack. What's your triggers? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I've just been going day by day for 40 years. I've just been trying to keep my environment orderly and organized. Of course, I have OCD. I know that now. It tends to partner up with depression. But I didn't, I'm not fully aware yet of all the triggers or why certain things really throw me off kilter. And that's what's making me mad now. If I would have gotten more help sooner, could I have learned how to deal with some of that better and had more? I feel like I'm just now practicing how to handle some of those adverse effects. Other
Yeah,
things were survival mode for 30, 40 years. End of discussion. Boom.
I
Now I'm
understand
trying to,
that. Yeah, I understand that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, the kids are not allowed to whistle in my class. I ask them nicely, and I tell them it's a trigger for me. And I want to walk up to every person I see in the store and say, can you stop whistling, please? But I don't. But I mean, it's like, I say it in my mind, though. But I mean,
well,
there's
yeah.
things for me that are really randomly thing that just I've tried to dig out of there, but they're so rooted in. Some of it
Well,
is just so
but you
rooted
mentioned,
in. Like I can say
okay,
lima
so
beans, how are you going to react?
stop. Okay, so you say whistle. So you figured out it's a trigger for you, but what does it trigger? Do you mind sharing?
Um, it triggers the physical abuse. It triggers the sensation, everything from when I was little, hiding behind a chair, my dad with the belt, to being spanked. It for me, it's like, oh, he's coming. And that's coming next. It's that kind of. I'm to the point now where I can hear it and and But for a long time, I was like, dang, people are whistling. Why am I so anxious and like why like I whistle, I'm like I don't get it, and it took me a while to connect it, but
But did Dad
especially if a
whistle that
man's
much?
whistling. Huh?
Did Dad whistle that much?
Yes, all the time.
I mean, he did.
All the
I
time.
remember him whistling. Okay.
Yeah, all the time, more so than I think, because it when I and it's like, interesting. Where I thought it would be something else, like the smell of shaving cream or different, but certain smells do get me. But because I've overall, I have more. Let me rephrase that. I apologize. Overall, I have better memories or happier memories where his father had the salon and everything. I don't have bad memories there. So if I'm getting my hair shampooed or whatever, those smells to me just don't bother me. I do associate them with dad, but the whistling is what gets me for some reason more than
Yeah.
anything else, you know?
It's the orderly stuff for me. I One of my biggest ones is when things are kind of out of place or the schedule is off. That's a huge trigger because that means you're going to get in trouble even if you didn't do it and you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
So I've figured out that the neatness or the orderliness or kind of keeping a low profile, stick to the schedule, whatever, that was kind of one of my big triggers,
Hmm.
which is crazy. Think about any job you ever have. Someone borrows your scissors and never brings them back. That's going to trigger you?
Bro, I'm gonna go get those
No.
scissors though. We're different that way.
Yeah, but I'll be pissed off because it keeps happening. I'll go get the scissors,
Oh,
but I'll be
okay.
like,
Yeah. See, my
I'll be like,
OCD is different. My OCD is more of the bedding's washed and folded, and it's more of a sense that like a comforting control. I'm not in control of anything, but cleaning or
well, that's it though.
organizing.
But
Yeah.
that's exactly what I mean. So if things are a little more controlled and calm, that means safety to me. So outer chaos creates inner drama, right? So outer order creates inner calm. So if things are orderly and things are calm, I'm cool. That's safe. The vibration's kind of low and I'm okay. I can function just fine. But if it's super messy, if things are everywhere, if my tools that I need aren't there where I left them,
That's my
etc.
job. Add screaming children.
We have
Oh, go
children.
ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I know.
You work with children.
I have parents who come to me on Saturday school and go, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, "What?" They're like, this is like, I'm like, there's only 40 kids here, bro. I'm like, I can do 90 at a time if I want. And she's like, I'm like, it's just what it is. But
Yeah,
part of it is my way to be there for someone when there was nobody there for me. And I don't care if
right.
if it's a milk at lunch or a hug or a band-aid. I just look at it as that person would not have been there for me. I mean, the schools when I went to school are different. Mom and dad wrote
Yes.
notes. I had to stand at the back of the room because I got spanked or had a broken tailbone, and that's what I did. It wasn't even questioned or anything. They were just like, "Oh, well, you obviously deserved it. Go stand back there."
I
Yeah,
felt I felt like I searched my entire academic career for the one adult I could talk to, and I never found them. That's one thing I felt like I never found.
yeah, I agree with that. I never really had. Well, let me back that up. When I was a senior in high school, when I became pregnant, I was 17, and my parents, our parents, whatever, were like, "You're a slut. Get out. We're done. We're moving, and we're going to Arizona. Bye." And I did have a teacher and the principal at the time. I stayed at her house, and he signed all my paperwork for me to
Mr.
graduate.
Cole?
Mr. Cole, yeah, and I thanked him when I got Employee of the Year a couple years ago. Um, but other than that, the majority of them, no, no, no kind of, gosh, you've had a black eye 3 times this year, or me, nothing. Nothing really.
Yeah.
I mean, I had nice teachers that weren't bullies or cruel, which there are those too. But I mean, overall, I didn't have that kind of support from that person like we have now. It's built into the system. The SEL's built in. There's
Yeah.
multi-tiered support services. There's counselors on
Yeah.
campus. There's all these other type of things to help kids take breaks, talk to people, do all that kind of stuff, where there wasn't any of that when we went to school. So,
No, you really relied on friends or something at that point, but we just
right.
talked about we didn't really have a lot because we'd move pretty soon after anyway. So I guess what I'm getting at is if you've got that bestie, you may have to have that heart to heart like, hey, we have to go to the park every Friday like we used to, or we have to go get a drink once in a while, or find that person. Maybe it is one of your siblings, I don't know. And see if you can try to literally vent a little bit, try journaling if it works for you. Try finding a therapist. It really helps to get another perspective and to have someone listen sometimes and let you just talk, gush. Or I've actually talked to myself in the mirror because sometimes I'm the only person I trust. Sounds a little odd, but it
No,
works.
affirmations work very well.
Yeah, so that's maybe one of the tidbits for today is take a break, disconnect if you have to, stop reading the e-files if you have to,
Right. Find a buddy.
find a buddy, put the phone down.
Or just go, yeah, go have dinner or have dinner. I mean, you've got to kind of unplug. I don't know if that's the right word, but and kind of just, it's okay if you do. You'd be surprised that that's what you need because you're being overstimulated and overstimulated and overstimulated. It's like the Tool song, and then at the point you're like, I need more because you think that's normal, and it's not normal at all.
And
You were going to
it's not
reference Joe Rogan making his comment. Excuse me,
right.
because
Well, wait, you know him though, or don't you
that
know
was a
him?
long time ago. I met him, yeah, long time ago.
Yeah,
But
he's flipped.
he's completely in a different space, I guess. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he's just saying his mind has been changed, and he's like you said in a different space because he's realizing, hello, wow. I mean, what else do you say?
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people are pretty aware of the type of podcasts and things he did, um, pro Trump and all that. But one of my secrets is put the phone down and don't make it the first thing you pick up in the morning.
Yeah, it's hard for people to do. They're so interconnected, Facebook and this and this. It used to just be read your emails. There's a lot of stuff in there too. But I always tell people try to pick a day or part of a day that you can kind of unwind, watch a movie, read a book, turn off the electron. I don't know, go to the park, something. I said it's something that's helpful. And,
It is. It
you
really
know,
is.
if the
It's cold in
millionaires that own
Chicago.
podcasts are overwhelmed, I mean, I'm
Right.
sure the average person is overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, it's snowing today in Chicago, and we had like 60 degrees last week or whatever it was. But I still made myself go outside because Sunday's my day to go outside or go to a movie or go swim or whatever. That's my day to kind of not work, so to speak, and not give myself an entire list of chores or anything like that. I make myself, and I'm glad I do every time. So find that
We
happy
usually have the
medium.
day off on Sunday, but I was up at 5 a.m. watching hockey, so
I know.
um,
Yay,
my day
go
went from
US.
there. Yeah.
Men's
So,
men's hockey won the gold medal at the Olympics. Women's hockey won the gold medal at the
yep,
Olympics. That's a
the first
perfect
black
note to
woman hockey player. It's just been and everybody on the ice for overtime was from Michigan. It was a phenomenal
Yep.
game. I was so happy
Woo.
for them.
It was
Anyway,
really good. Really good game to watch. So, any comments or concerns, please feel free to reply or go to dandelionspiritpodcast@gmail.com to leave an email. If there's topics or information you'd like to share, please let us know. More than happy to address things. And there are crisis hotlines for the U.S., for the VA, and for other entities. Check your local listings. And yeah, protect your spirit, right?
Yep. Protect your spirit, as I say. Doksha.
Yep, we'll see you next time. Make today your peaceful day. Bye.